Good morning to everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Riding Through the Unknown. As we're going to take a interesting adventure this morning, and my guest I am so blessed to have on is a returning guest who some of you may remember we had back in July before the conference. So we are going to catch up with Gina, and she has a couple of videos for you all. And so before I turn it over, we do have Anchor Haven who is saying hello from the UK. So that's pretty cool. And thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to turn it over to the one, the only, super amazing host, Gina Virginia Casella.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm glad our time change worked out today. We've got snow here now, so let us know in the comments if you've got snow as well. Hi, Anchor Haven. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to spending time with you today. Usually I hang out with Michael doing gemstone readings, and today I'm going to chat with you about other services I offer. It's also an opportunity for you to ask me some questions. I'm pretty open, very relatable. But let me first show you the two little videos that I have, and then we'll just take it from there. Here's the first one.
Gina Virginia Casella, specializing in mind reprogramming, safe extractions of intrusive entities, cord cutting, soul retrieval, including illuminations, all while keeping chakras clear and aligned. Once you know what it's like to stand in your power and know your value, you simply won't go back to your old matrix. This is a profound full disclosure which will insist you continue to stand in your power and remember your value as the master scribe of your life that is your birthright to be. Gina is committed to providing clients with memberships for regular maintenance. When you book with Gina, it all starts with story medicine, using the Gnome King's gemstones complemented by the Dragon Dreams Oracle. Then Gina will investigate your energy field, providing appropriate services. It's likely clients will require energy medicine services and mind reprogramming. The mind can only focus on one presenting problem at a time, making regular sessions desirable. Clients who are not familiar with these services find relief in the knowing that they can simply surrender to Gina. Memberships are designed to provide a structure for the session. However, depending on what presenting problem identifies, will depend on the service clients are provided. Clients never have to worry if they need this service or that service. They simply need to book a private, and you can do that by clicking on Learn More or go straight to the Buy Me a Coffee website under Memberships.
That was the first video, just a little bit of an introduction. And you know what? It's honestly nice for me to play a video instead of reiterating who I am, what services I offer. But that is the gist of it. I do have another little video that just describes a little bit more about me. It's a couple minutes long. I hope you enjoy it. And I can't wait to dive into a discussion with you.
Hey Dragon Dreamers, Gina Virginia Casella here, your Dragon Star sibling and the one behind the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. It is my fucking pleasure to assert that the Akashic Records are not a permanent record, because your past never defines you. It brings me great joy and honor empowering others to know only you can write and rewrite your story. In fact, it's your birthright to do so, to make edits accordingly. The master scribe and authority you are of your life. The best intended contract is an intention. You were never bound to anything, even if you wanted to be, as we exist in a constant state of alchemy. No more life living you. The pen is very much in your hand. Take charge of your story. Shed false limiting beliefs and the matrix holding you back. Make your story count. I hope you have the courage to be yourself and to be all you can be. I know it's not easy, and you're fucking worth it. Yes, you. You really can change your story to change your life. You're the biology and the belief in the biology of belief. Discover Gina Virginia Casella. I would love for you to join the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, and I would absolutely adore if you registered for one of my memberships. Dare to Dream. You can learn more, or you can go straight to the Buy Me a Coffee website and look under memberships.
While I play those videos, and I really appreciate folks who are tuning in, noticing the comments. And Anchor Haven, I'm jealous you got a Psychic Duck t-shirt. And the snow it's wet, it's dark, it's out there. And I'm having tech issues too lately. Things just don't make sense. So hopefully that'll clear. And hopefully, you know what, I'm going to take that as a compliment that we're pushing through. Because there's no reason why we should be stopped. And I don't know if anyone out there can relate, but I feel like the more I shift and change my matrix and take hold of the biology of belief in my matrix and really take charge of my story, my Akashic record, I start to bump and collide. There's resistance, and as frustrating as that is, it's actually a good sign that you're about to break your matrix or break whatever habit it is, break whatever pattern, because your mind's number one job is to protect you, even if it means creating false inhibiting beliefs, lying to yourself, and keeping you stagnant and stuck. Why? Because it's familiar, and what the mind perceives as familiar, the mind perceives as safe. So now I'm just kind of ranting here, but this is important to me, and why I get so passionate about it, because something very simple like comments and technical frustrations, I'm going to insist that it's a sign that we're breaking the pattern. We're breaking this pattern.
Patterns are meant to be broken.
They are. We are not meant to be in the same pattern. When it comes to blueprints and the original God source energy, I mean, the original, like very, very first blueprint, is that what you really want? No, you want an alchemized version. We're always in a consistent state of alchemy. So I always have tons to talk about. That's my problem. But if you're feeling it, Michael, let's keep talking about alchemy, because that's a big part of what I do. I help anybody who is ready to commit to making change in their lives. It takes a lot of courage. This business of the hero's journey, flying with hummingbird, being wingtip to wingtip with eagle condor, going through the motions, going through the medicine wheel of snake to jaguar. It's very healing, it's very therapeutic, but it's also very triggering. And that's the thing about healing. It is messy, okay? It's messy. And that's why I'm offering a collective membership and the privates. So there's something for everybody, because I know we're all moving at our own pace. Some of us are moving faster, but then depending on what's going on, we need to slow down. Terminology, dark night of the soul. There's lots of words floating around out there, but ultimately we're always shedding our skin. And before we're even born into this world, we come here with programming. And for me, I'm hypersensitive about that. Where did this programming even come from? The life between lives. Ooh, that's a hot topic for me. This business of contracts and Akashic records. You know, I was completely brainwashed like most of you. And I have the humility to recognize that a large part of me is still brainwashed very much because of the programming that I was born into this world with, the confusion. Whether I played a direct role in my contract coming into this world is a whole separate conversation, but I came into this world with some kind of knowing. I was born into a family. There was a buddy system established. Questions upon questions arise. Children are in survival mode. You know that expression, the terrible twos? Well, of course they're terrible. You know, you've got children who are people, right? Little folks that can't communicate, and they're in a house with people that may or may not be treating them well, who are imposing subconscious programming, right? So even the best well-intended parents out there imposing ideas onto your child. And what ends up happening is eventually your child grows older and starts making their own connections. But what's interesting is by age 5, you're the person you are for life. So you know that expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Well, you can, right? You can. But the old dog is totally not going to be learning like the rest of the puppies, right? Just incomparable. And that's like the 5-year-old. And so I've always been really passionate about inner child work. I was a kindergarten teacher. I was a teacher for 20 years. So child development to me is very important. And I see when I'm doing hypnotherapy and when I'm helping folks with false inhibiting beliefs and backtracking these timelines, and now with my energy medicine training, it's like all I see is that inner child. And like on an academic level, where you're at in grade 3, that's where you're at basically for life. But socially and emotionally, like the whole person, the things that shape your values, the way you think and feel, telling the truth, telling lies, virtues, those kind of things, your character traits, all of that by the time you're age 5. And then it's only at age 5 that we start public school. And so I'm very passionate about this missing gap from age 0 to 5. And I've always been an advocate for the early learning years. But what's interesting is as my work and my own personal journey unfolds, it seems like there's past life work. And even though in a past life or an alternate life, you might have been a different age, developmentally, you were a child. And so this is very fascinating for me because I might be having a conversation with somebody under hypnosis, or they might just be telling me about a memory they had. about a past life where they don't know how old they are, but they know that they're an adult. Okay, they're like above age 25, somewhere under, I don't know, 25 to 45, somewhere in there. But when they're talking to me and when they're sharing their information and even their body language, it's like, actually, I think you were more like a 14-year-old. Developmentally, those were the days. Michael and I were talking about war and veterans before we went live, and a thought that just dawned on me was after World War, I don't know if it was World War I or II or maybe both of them, but here in Canada, like most of the population was something like under the age of 35. Like there was just no elders available at all. So there was this huge gap in knowledge, and I've been going on. Like I said, I always have lots to say, but just catching
And
up in the comments here.
there actually is a question for you from Flixlove. They're saying somatic release and or hypnotherapy. What is the connection, Gina, do you think?
Yeah, so somatic for me is always psychosomatic. So I'm not one to get hung up on vocabulary, but just for a point of clarification, um, how you think and feel is so important that it causes ailments or it could inspire healing, because every single thought that you have creates an emotional response. That's why it's important to learn how to come from a place of indifference, even if something really ticks you off. Indifference, 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 because you don't want your body to be taking those hits. It takes hits. So the psycho, like the psychological part of you, creates somatic, like the biological going on. So psychosomatic health basically means placebo effect, like you know when you take a sugar pill but you don't know it's a sugar pill and you still reap the benefits. That's exactly how psychosomatic health works. It's like there's nothing wrong with you, but because of the way you think and feel, because it's negative, you start to get physical ailments in your body. It starts up here with your thinking, and then it gets expressed. And this, if I'm understanding your question correctly, absolutely 100% goes back into past lives. You know, entities, okay, ghosts, spirits, demons, intrusive entities that have absolutely no business in your energy field, okay, they're there. No business being there, right? So just when you think you've extracted one, I learned there's entities within entities. Yeah, entities have entities. Like it's just never ending, this onion layer, that there's a point to be made. Again, not to get hung up on vocabulary, and who knows, maybe in 20 years from now, next time I chat with you, I'll call it something else. But right now, at least in the life and times of me, Gina Virginia Casella, there's these things called affinities. So if you picture an egg around you and your energy field goes way out, all the way to outer space, right? It just goes on and on. Well, at some point, it ends. And ideally, it bounces back at us. And that's the projection in the world that we see around us. And it's like a comet or a whale. It just migrates in the pattern, cycles and cycles and cycles. So until you clear the affinities, like the very tips of the very end, when the energy and everything goes out, it goes out. But when it comes back, the same thing is coming back. So unless you engage in mind reprogramming, good luck losing weight or dealing with your skin rash or whatever it is. And I know that sounds frustrating. And that's exactly why we need to have these conversations. You don't need to be losing your mind. You don't need to be pissing away your money, beating yourself up because, for example, you're trying to lose weight and you can't because you don't know any different, that you have a false inhibiting belief. Most people who are overweight have absolutely no issue with food that they eat. It's because they don't feel safe. So they have to be big. And how do you get big? Well, you can eat food. And that's the child mentality and your mind's number one job to protect you. So now I'm getting passionate again. Sorry. Ever since like I was always passionate about, child development and whatnot. Then I got into hypnotherapy in 2021. Now I'm an energy medicine practitioner, and it's just reinforcing. And so I was going to make a point, and the point was, if you're beating yourself up because you're not getting results in your life or whatever it is, that's a very strong indicator you need mind reprogramming. Now, what about if mind reprogramming doesn't work? That's one of the stigmas. Like, why wouldn't it work? Well, maybe you weren't ready to receive it. Like you were too closed off, right? But there's another reason. You might have an intrusive entity. You actually might require a shaman to go into your personal space. And for me, that's like more intimate than having sex. We're talking about somebody entering your energy field. And that's why I'm hypersensitive about intrusive entities. Those are not spirit guides at all. Just interrupt me when I'm getting passionate, because I find that's happening a lot. Like the last month or so, I've been going on these rants.
Oh no, you're totally fine. And one of the things you mentioned, I kind of was like laughing about was you go, in 20 years, hopefully you'll be back on the show. And I was laughing, going, I hope it doesn't take 20 years to get you back on.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, everyone, it's been 20 years. I'll wear this vest again, right? Hey, my vest has pockets in it. That's something worth mentioning. But I think I answered your question. The chat went up. I can't see the comments now.
They're talking. They're somewhat talking amongst themselves. And one thing though that I find interesting is I'm working on book
You're
3,
welcome,
which
Flor.
is metaphysical, and one of the sections in the book talks about the dark night of the soul, and you brought it up, and to me it's not this thing to be afraid of. And so I kind of, instead of really getting into it, I tried to make it so that it wasn't something to be afraid of, that people would understand more that it's just a process and not to be feared. And so I'm hoping that that translates through and that
Yes.
people understand that, because terms like shadow work, dark night of the soul, everybody puts a dark connotation on. And to me, they're really not when you look at what they really are.
Yes. Yes. In a very generalized way, like before all of this unfolded in my life, I've heard about the dark night of the soul, and I just interpreted that as negative times in your life, like dark times in your life. But then it's like the dark night of the soul, it's like all souls have dark spots in them, if you will, for all different kinds of reasons. And this brings me to another passion that I have. We're a story species. So our logical mind and our subconscious mind are always trying to communicate with each other, right? So the conscious mind needs a structure. It needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. It requires themes, archetypes, shoe boxes, if you will. And then the subconscious mind pours information, no different than cake batter, going into this tray, into that pan, and you get different shapes. The subconscious mind doesn't understand that you're making a dozen muffins or 24 mini muffins or maybe a banana shaped log cake. It just understands pour the batter. So we have to train the subconscious mind just to give us the batter. And then we have to train our conscious mind to put that batter and organize it for us. And so what I'm trying to say is that the dark night of the soul is a beautiful metaphor for the hero's journey. And that's the whole point of the hero's journey, is to provide your conscious mind, the logical part of you that has a very strong impact, like the 5% of you. 5% is not a lot, right? The 5% of you is the conscious part of you that is engaging with this world right now. The me talking to you, Michael and I on the screen, this is all conscious mind. So this 5% is pretty powerful. That other 95% we can only access in REM, when we're experiencing rapid eye movement, when we're dreaming, or if we're like, driving our car and we get lost in thought and we end up at the mall. That's where we were going, but we arrive at the mall and we don't even remember, really driving there because we were experiencing that timelessness. So it's really special because the dark night of the soul provides that beginning, the middle, the end. And as your journey unfolds, you meet people, you meet guides, wizards and whatnot. It sounds exciting, but ultimately it's folks like myself who can provide you with transformational services. So the dark night of the soul and working with shadows, it's a good point that Michael makes, because you know what? I've had spiritual experiences my whole life, and I used to be terrified of ghosts and spirits. Like, I don't watch alien movies. Forget it. Horror movies. A lot of people are surprised to hear that, but those who know me, like, ask anybody who knew me growing up. Forget it. Because I believe that stuff, and it does mess with my head. And when I was a kid, I would watch TV. Well, was I watching TV or was TV watching me? Because I'd fall asleep watching Care Bears and stuff like that, right? But then I'd wake up and there's like some ET show on, and it's like, what? Like, but those, I don't think that was TV. I think that was a communication, and the TV was a bridge, you know. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be afraid of doing this work. This work is messy, and I feel like once you start peeling the layers away, you really enter the what I call owl territory, owl medicine, because so many truths get revealed to you that just don't line up, that are not in right relationship with you. And then that's how you can make permanent, pervasive, powerful change. And so, yeah, I actually forgot, but it was just, I don't even know, like 8 to 10 years ago now. I I wouldn't even want to talk about ghosts or anything. And I was always interested in things like Bigfoot. I've got lots of passions, but story species for sure. And I do believe that stories are one of our best medicines. And I do believe that we can heal with the earth. And each one of us, a walking, talking piece of earth, a Pachamama, a walking, talking tree in our own right. So we heal with each other. Like, we can heal with the earth in terms of going to the water, healing with the elementals. We can engage in things like fire ceremony, like literally heal with the earth in that way, heal with the earth and the foods that we eat and whatnot. But also an important point to be made, that we forget that we're the earth and we have our own sovereignty. And knowing how we think and feel is so important. It just drives me to really pull in the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, because there's a lot of us out there, you know?
And one thing too that talking about story medicine,
Mm-hmm.
working on the book, when I was writing about like the shadow realm and shadow beings, I sat back and actually found myself going, what is a shadow? A shadow is the balance of light and dark.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in the darkness, you can see shadows because of the light, but they're not light in the fact of I can see them like this. And so I find it interesting that, why now I'm seeing and hearing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the echo myself, and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from because I have nothing open.
I don't hear an echo.
But yeah, so I'm curious your thoughts. Oh, I
Oh,
see
I
it. It's
know.
coming through
Your
your screen.
speaker. Oh, sorry.
But
We just really want you to hear us. We want to echo.
but I'm curious,
Um,
do you think of the shadow the same way as it's a being
I
that's
do and I
in
don't.
light and
I really
dark?
let go of categories. I believe shadows, like you said, like there's light and dark. Someone's got to be the light, someone's got to be the dark. Just because they're the dark doesn't mean they're bad or evil. They're just dark. So even once they're clear, they're still dark. That's who they are, right? But there's an energy out there, and energy can become stagnant, and it collects, and it starts to harden, and just like string theory, you get like one plus one is two, two plus one is three, and you start layering the shadows, if you will, to the point that it's very dark and heavy, and it's stagnant, and it can be holding energy like toxic thoughts, for example, and that can become a shadow. I could die and I could become an intrusive entity for whatever reasons, and then I would be perceived as a dark shadow, um, because I'm a being of light. So I shouldn't be a shadow. I should always be in a state of light. Like when my soul leaves my body someday, I should be Homo luminous. I shouldn't be Homo darkness. But I do believe there are Homo darkness out there. There needs to be, just, so I guess I can't really answer your question. Like there's like shadow people who are no different than light people. It's just one is shadow, one is light. And then there's positive folks and negative folks. And the negative folks are your stagnant energy, and they need to be cleaned out, you know?
Well,
So,
and also when we think about it, we walk in the light and the dark, and it's a matter of choice. But even when we're in the dark, we're not necessarily bad. It's just we're doing something that we just maybe don't want light shined upon yet. But out of the darkness comes the light, and out of the light comes the darkness. So they need each other. And I think it's the balance. And I think that's where we go wrong is we think you have to be light or dark, but we got to be both.
yes. Yeah, we're yin yang, and sometimes we have a need to be more yin, and sometimes we have a need to be more yang. Like my dreams always present these figure eight shapes to me, and one circle is always smaller, one is bigger. But sometimes that figure eight will twist and just make a nice big circle. But then it transforms into binary codes, into ones and zeros. But when you were talking, it made me think about my books, which conveniently I have right here.
Got
Getting
quite the
heavy, folks.
library there.
There's 8 of them, and I've got a suitcase here beside me full of more dream journals. But book 8 in particular, um, it's Scary Dreams, talks about things that you're talking about, because in book 8, I'm this little ghosty girl. I'm 3 years old, and I'm hanging out with these kids that don't even know about me. They have like no awareness at all, because I'm a ghosty girl, and I play with them, right? Yeah, thanks for changing your hat quickly. um, and so these lushers come in and they kill the children, and the story goes on. But then when the children are deceased and the lushers are gone, the Grim Reaper comes to collect their souls, and I start chatting with him. And I'm only 3 years old, right? Like, even I forget, I'm only 3 years old. I'm a ghosty girl. But like, developmentally, I'm ahead of my time as this ghosty girl. But anyways, the Grim Reaper and I have a really intriguing conversation because I basically wonder about things like who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. Um, I wonder about things like, if I could do this, then how come I can't do that? If I can shapeshift, how come I can't shapeshift into the Grim Reaper? He's a big guy. He can beat up the bad guys, but even the Grim Reaper has to have morals and healthy boundaries and whatnot. But the point is, we talk about sustenance, and the conversation, it shifts. It's not about the good guy or the bad guy. It's about sustenance and food source. And so the light folks, the dark folks, all folks require some kind of nourishment. So who's to say who are the good guys? Who's to say who are the bad guys? And when I think about, like, planet Earth and our solar system, sea and sky once upon a time used to be one, and then they separated. Like, I think about um, conversations and stories that I've had and heard where a lot of folks believe that we used to be vampires. And I totally understand and appreciate why folks would think or feel that way, because we came from the darkness. We didn't even have eyeballs. We were once upon a time bacteria, mycelium, microorganisms, right? Like, very simple. So how do we fit into this greater ecosystem of dreams and past lives? And so, yeah, I've written 8 books, and it talks about my spiritual awakening, interesting dreams that I've had, and how my dream life and my waking life are bridging together. And it's only the past yearish that I'm really seeing it. And there's some content in here that makes me uncomfortable. Some of it is very lighthearted. It's encouraging. There's lots of beautiful messages, but some of the content talks about, like, Jesus and the ancient Egyptians and things that went down. And I'm just like, why is this information coming to me? Like, sometimes I feel like I'd like to think I'm that creative, but like, where, why? And like I said, I still have a suitcase full of journals to publish. So I have stories to tell. And going back to my comment earlier, like, I don't watch scary movies. And so every now and then when I'm speaking, somebody will be like, well, how did you know that? Weren't you talking about that movie when this happened? And I'm like, no, I don't know that movie. I'm too scared. I don't watch movies like that. And I saw your comment, Michael, that you think scary movies are funny. Oh, you're one of those people, right? Well, I dare you to read Scary Dreams. It's not bloody and gory, but I think this is terrifying. There's 3 stories in here, and one of them talks about black sand. So there I am as a kid, falling asleep to Care Bears or whatever, something like that, right? Good old Rainbow Bright days. And then I wake up and there's some ET doing surgery. And to make a long story short, the woman just turned to black sand, and the way the sand slammed hit the table, like, it was really scary. And I don't remember how old I was when that happened, but I was probably like 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. And I remember at that time, people were talking about death and cremation. And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, like black sand. Nobody knew what I was talking about. And I remember people clarifying with me ashes. And my parents smoked cigarettes. And I was like, I understand ashes, like cigarette ashes. And then there's ashes because we would go camping a lot. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about black sand. And then it wasn't until a handful of years ago, I completely forgot about this black sand business. I was watching Gaia. I don't even know who was speaking, but somebody mentioned black sand. And then my memory came back, and I captured it in here. So that's an example of like a thought that I had that I don't know where that thought came from, and then somewhere else in the universe that thought was reflected back, and it freaked me out. So it freaks me out what other thoughts. And I talk about the Homo sapiens being on the menu. I talk about different kinds of ETs. Some ETs, they're just like wild animals. They don't understand. They're looking for meat. Yeah, you're a nice looking piece of meat, Michael. Gonna put you on the barbecue tonight. You know, it's nothing personal.
Yeah. But I just want to take a second and say when I say that horror movies are like comedies to me is when I watch them, even as a kid, when I would watch them, whenever they would run towards, a trap, my mind is like, why are you doing that? That that's where the trap is. And
Yes.
I would just find it funny that they would go there and then be like, well, why are we trapped? I'm like, because you did it to yourself. And so it's like, I never saw the horror as horror. I always saw everybody's choices they were making in the movie and going, yeah, it's like, and there's a commercial where the kids are trying to get away from this serial killer and there's a running car and this one girl smartly says, why don't we get in the running car? And the kid goes, are you crazy? We should go hide in the shed full of knives. It's like, yeah, that's horror movies. They make the dumb choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I can appreciate the comedy in that. Like, actually, remember that movie Scream, and then they made like
Oh
parody
yeah.
movies. Like at the time, I was watching those. That was like kind of where it ended for me, you know. But I'm telling you, like life is just like Scooby Doo, and I forget which book. It might be this one, but somewhere here I talk about that. Like, the mind's number one job is to protect. And every episode of Scooby Doo, they always blame it on the monster, right? And yet, how does
Right.
every single episode end? It's a person, they're wearing a mask, and it's not just anybody, it's somebody who was in a position of leadership who was directly involved, right? And we see this theme, story species, story medicine, we see this time and time again. Now, the thing about story medicine, like I can talk to you about my books and sharing and experiences, and it's very positive and healthy, right? Especially when we've all been experiencing the same type themes in our lives. But at what point does story medicine become toxic? Because that's all you do is stay stuck in your story, right? So that's where the healing piece comes in. So when you book a session with me, because I used to see a psychologist, and I do believe that there's a time and a place for a psychologist, but I'll probably never see one again in my life, or a psychiatrist, because I believe in uh, these services with like psychic healers and energy medicine practitioners, and the themes that come from them, and that it's not just like talk therapy, it's story medicine. So when you book a session with me, like I need to talk to you for a little bit so I get an idea of what's going on, but also because the mind can only focus on one presenting problem. Like when I'm doing a live gemstone reading, it is what it is. But when you book private with me and you see me regularly, we have like an ongoing theme, an ongoing goal that you work with. um, that's where the story medicine is powerful, and you get insight from the Gnome King's gemstone. So something might come up where you're like, ooh, like that came up, and it's like, yeah. Or maybe something didn't come up, but then it's followed by healing. So same with hypnotherapy. I know a lot of folks out there, they're just dying to book a session because they want me to regress them into some past life, and what, fall down some rabbit hole where what, I feed your ego, where you were some glorious god or goddess and you had everything and you were like almighty and this and that. Oh, okay, great. Well, did you know that your mind's number one job is to protect you? So if you're paying a hypnotherapist money to do that kind of stuff, straight up, you're not helping the stigmas. because that's a stigma. Going to see a hypnotherapist and they take you down fairy tale lane and they tell you all the things that you want to hear, right? And you, the ideal client, well, it's coming from you. So you're basically, you don't have to pay a hypnotherapist, but you need your own validation, I guess, is my theory. I don't know. But the point about hypnotherapy is to identify, before you undergo hypnosis, to identify a presenting problem. And knowing the mind can only focus on one presenting problem at a time, that's the power of the story medicine. It's a quick sift through. It's not meant to be ongoing talk therapy where you're staying. No, I just need some tidbits, and then bam, I perform my energy medicine. If I feel like you need mind reprogramming, then I'll recommend that to you. I was just getting passionate again because you don't have to stay stagnant. And if you're going to see a hypnotherapist, please don't see somebody that's just going to hypnotize you and leave it at that. There needs to be some kind of healing involved, because the point of hypnotherapy is to take that presenting problem, identify the blueprint, smash it, and then replace the program with whatever new programming is what you desire. Because I hear a lot of stories of people going into past lives and they learn this and that about themselves. And it's like, are you feeding your ego? Are you filling in gaps? Are you even interested in healing? Are you just interested in interesting stories? I don't know. But knowing that your mind's number one job is to protect you, now that I've shared this insight with you, maybe some of you weren't aware, how does it make you feel that, you're paying money to go and see somebody and you're staying stagnant? Or, like when I regress somebody and all we do is happy scene after happy scene, that's like a huge indicator that there's something that the mind is protecting fiercely. And in a situation like that, which happens often, I'll regress you maximum 3 times, and then I go straight to the inner child. I'm not messing around. I'm not going to regress you, and then it's like, what, years go by? No. Ideally, somebody would book a private session with me for a few years to a handful of years. You come see me regularly, and then you're like fully healed and you're okay, and probably you'll become an energy medicine practitioner too, or something like that. I just want to say, I was getting caught up in a pattern where basically I was following systemic approaches because of fear-based scarcity decisions, because I needed paperwork filled out when I first went on leave. And I'm not interested and very turned off in anybody who's offering like 20 years of therapy. To me, that's not how healing works. And when you book with me, you don't have to be scared about what comes up, because it's always like watching TV. You're always safely from a distance. So you're here, and whatever regression scene is unfolding, it's there. And I don't keep you in there forever. Like, we literally go in, I get what we need, we go out. So it's very powerful. And systemic approaches
is that get the matrix out of me.
Yeah, so like classic case of a systemic approach is folks who grind their teeth. Dentists will tell you to get what's it called?
Mouth guard.
A mouth guard. Yeah. So you put it in your mouth at night. Does that stop you from grinding your teeth? No. Well, why are you wearing it? Because you're still going to grind your teeth, and instead of grinding your teeth, cracking your teeth apart, you'll do the damage to the piece in your mouth, right? Okay, well, that's a systemic approach. That's like putting a Band-Aid. Like it's not going to heal you, right?
Right.
But if you talk about why you're grinding your teeth and see a hypnotherapist, then you can reprogram your mind. You can figure out what is causing you the stress in your life that is causing you to grind your teeth. So under hypnosis, I would ask you, like, when was the first time you felt like you needed to grind your teeth? And you would take me there. And if you don't, you've got 3 tries, and then I'm going to see the inner child. And visiting the inner child is always such a lovely experience. Everybody always bawls their eyes out. If not right away, eventually they do. And
Yeah. And what I find interesting is, you on your path, me on my path. I didn't do hypnotherapy. I did a technique called timeline therapy. And timeline therapy is where you're going in a trance state, you go to the root cause of an event, you watch it, then you're pulled out into a third person view and you watch what leads up to the event, and then the after effect. And your job in that is, yes, you see the trauma or you see what caused you to have this pattern or whatever you're doing. But then you're challenged to go, well, knowing now what led to it, what came of it, what positives do you have learned now from this experience? And you share what you learned positive. Then they anchor it in that moment on your timeline. So it could be past life or current life. And it ripples to the present. And you can, how you know it worked, in my opinion, is say, somebody talking about a topic triggers me. Well, the next person who comes up and raises that topic, I'm not triggered as fast. I may get triggered, but not as quickly. And so it's like, oh, it's working. So now there's another root cause to go to. And you just keep whittling it down but you get to see the progress. You get to see, for yourself, it's working.
yes, that's awesome. I never heard of that before. There's different modalities out there. So that's basically what I do, but it's not described like that. Uh, um, I use Marissa Peer's RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, Hypnotherapy. I don't sell modalities, but if folks out there are feeling inspired and you want to learn what I learned, Marissa Peer, she taught me. I had the honor of being one of her students. And you know what? Like after you see a hypnotherapist, you've got homework to do, right? There's a personalized transformational audio that's created. Now, what I do, just to keep it simple, is I record the session on like video. So I just timestamp the video. So you get your video and then you just fast forward it to that part. Um, you need to listen to that for 21 days to reinforce why. It has to do with the rules of the mind. So even in Michael's example, if he's like, I'm not triggered by this word anymore, I don't have to finish listening to this transformational audio, it's only been 2 days, I feel fantastic. You need to listen to it for 21 days consecutively because it's all part of this programming and how the mind works. And it is frustrating, but if you can get to know the rules of the mind and how they work, then you can play the game, if you will, and you can really start living your life and seeing the changes. And I know it sounds frustrating because a lot of us, it's like, well, Gina, I need help with this, 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 and this, and this. Like, how many, I can only focus on one issue a month. And it's like, yes. And some people ask me, like, can I do 2 hypnotherapy sessions a month? I don't care, Gina. Like, I'll do 3 if I have to. And it's like, pick one. Otherwise, it's not going to be effective. Right. So when you book with me, honestly, doing hypnotherapy every single month back to back, I feel that's too intensive. You might want to take 3 to 5 months to do hypnotherapy. Not enough, things not being available to you, feeling like there's something wrong or different about you. Those are the top 3 themes right there. So there's like 3 months right there. Then if you've got skin irritability, weight issues, whatever, we'll go through that too. But I also provide you with my energy healing. So I love this work. It comes naturally and easily to me. I was intimidated to learn energy medicine, and it's pretty powerful stuff. I'm winding chakras and cleaning them out, and I can feel like a funnel shape. Sometimes they're skinny and narrow, sometimes they're wide and warpy. And going back to intrusive entities, I made the investment. I got myself one of these special crystals. This keeps me safe, it keeps you, the client, safe, and it keeps the intrusive entity safe. So, what is an intrusive entity? Well, an intrusive entity, as mentioned before, is an energy in your energy field that has no business being there. It is not a spirit guide. And they're intrusive because they are living off of your energy. So it's parasite status. This is not a symbiotic relationship. So it's not like in the movies, but basically we go through a little process and we pretend that we hold hands. It's very remote. We do it right over line, just like this. And the entity, usually it's on board. It didn't know it was an intrusive entity. It goes right down your arm, right into this crystal. And then my hands get super, super mega sweaty. And I don't we all get sweaty palms, right? But I'm not like a sweaty type person. And that's like my little signal. So I wonder, any other energy medicine practitioners, what happens to your body? It's different for all of us. And that's how I know the intrusive entity is in here. And then after the session, I'm pretty quick. I got my special little cauldron here with some salt, and I get the alcohol, and it burns so hot blue you can't even see the flame. And so I guess I want to excite you about what I do. I want to let you know too that it's safe, because what I do with great reverence. And there's some things that are flexible, but there's some things that they really need to be done a certain way. So if you have an intrusive entity, this is what my tool looks like. If for some reason I lost this, or somebody stole it, or I dropped it right in the middle of my session and it cracked, then I become the tool. And in a situation like that, then I'm put myself at risk for basically throwing up, like shamans do in the middle of nowhere that don't have access to crystals and stuff like that. And that can become dangerous. So it's important that we use these tools, because when I did my energy medicine training, I didn't want to buy anything, because a year ago I became homeless. Those of you who are following me and familiar with my story. So I was like, I'm not buying any tools, not after what I've been through. You can forget it. And it was like, this was the one tool. And another tool was the rattle, because it helps with the hypnotic state, even though with energy medicine, you're not in hypnosis, right? So if you do hypnotherapy with me, I get you under hypnotherapy. If you're doing energy medicine, if you slip under hypnotherapy, that's your thing. My pendulum broke. I've had to fix it twice. You know, but the pendulum, those of you who know me, I'm in opposition of the pendulum. So the pendulum was a hard one for me to accept as a tool, because when I was a teenager, I used to ask the candle yes, no questions. And if the flame would rise, that meant yes. And if it would go low, that meant no. And so I perceived the pendulum as no different. But me, I'm guilty like everybody else. You get obsessed with the pendulum. You start asking inappropriate questions. It loses its meaning, right? So I started a relationship with myself and trees. Now I've moved around a few times now, so I don't have this relationship, but there was a time where there was a few trees that I used as a pendulum, because I got to know like their yes or their no. And I always tell people that you should do that with your body. You should tell yourself, like, my name's Gina, my name's Gina. Okay, that feels good. But if I start saying my name's Michael, like my body knows, wait, that's not true. And that, where do I feel that in my body? That's how you start training yourself as a dowser. Here's the thing. When you're doing energy medicine work, you need another opinion. You need the God source energy opinion. So this is where the pendulum promise comes into play. I only use the pendulum when I'm doing energy medicine work, and I only use it for appropriate times. This is pretend you, folks, okay? So when you book a session with me to do energy medicine work, this transforms into you. You become my little baby over here on my end in Gina world. And these are your chakras. And then I imagine your arms and legs and head here. And when I test, your chakras, I do it with my pendulum. And there's no second guessing. It's the pendulum promise. It's the immediate what I'm sensing and what direction it's going in. It needs, I mean, we can do a show where you just do Q&As for me about my tools if you want, but the tools that I use are really special to me. I've even got butter knives here. They're just butter knives. They're not sharp, but this is important for cord cutting. So this is very serious work that I do. This is not just me farting around, working with imagination. It's real. And on an energetic level, it goes right out to outer space and beyond, working those infinities. And those of you also familiar, this is my dream scarf, which has seen better days, but now it's really special. It's supposed to look tethered. It's 3 scarves wrapped up into one. It's my dream scarf now. And I try to remember to wear it when folks have sessions with me. But I was able to personalize my tools was the point I wanted to make. And so everything just came together. Some things cost more money than others, but everything is connected. Even this feather, I found this in the backyard. And honestly, I was hoping for a bigger feather because I instead of having these butter knives, I wanted like one of those long, and like I have cousins who hunt. I could ask them, hey, give me a feather. But I thought, no, I wanted to come from nature. The whole entire summer, all I got was this little guy. And I thought, oh, that's because it's for when I'm cauterizing. I take the smoke from the incense because after I cut and remove cords, so it just, it's so special how everything came together. And it's such a delight for me to share this with you. And then, of course, there's my, the Dragon Dreams Oracle, which I'm no promises, but I'm hoping because I've got some things to check off my list for November. And then as a reward to myself, I'm going to hopefully sometime in December put these on an app. So I want to publish them so you can buy like a physical copy, but I thought it would be cool to have it on an app because you know what? These are heavy. And of course, my mini gemstone reading. So my dream life, my waking life, it all came together. But I've been chatting for a while here, but I wanted to just go through the comments here.
Sorry. Real quick, what type of crystal was that? So if people wanted to get one, they get
So
because
this
there's
is
so
a
many
clear,
different types.
yeah, this is a clear quartz crystal. And oops, what am I doing here? Well,
You're oh well, had a tech issue and hopefully she'll be back so we can wrap this up. But yes, I have done pendulum work and ghost investigations myself. I use the body. And let's see. I have 2 books. The 3rd book is coming out hopefully this week. And so, if you do have a book in you, I highly suggest just starting it and letting it come naturally. And let's see. Oh, there she is. And she's back.
Can't get rid of me. Did I miss anything?
No, I was just kind of answering about using the pendulum on ghost investigations and using the body and about books. And if you have a book, start writing it and just let it naturally flow. Don't force it. And then you popped in.
Pop, I'm back. So this is called double terminated because both sides are pointed. It's a clear quartz, so not rose or anything else. It has to be clear. And the way they're made, it's more skinny, narrow on the top, and then it gets wider on the bottom.
Okay.
And then there's a minimum of 8 faces. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. Minimum of 8 faces. You can get lots more faces, but they cost a lot more money. This was a good $1,000. So this was expensive, this tool. So, and I'm just reading, Anchor Haven says that she's a pendulum alchemist. I have tools, but also use a dial in my mind, plus my full body too. Yes, and the dial, I'm a huge fan of that. Often for the dial, I'll just like think of a clock, or I think of a dial and it'll just be like low, medium, high. And I use that a lot in hypnotherapy. And you know what's cool? You can use it for pain, turn the pain down, turn the clarity up. In hypnosis, I've had people in their childhood, they hear like the adults talking, but they can't hear the words. So I'll tell them under hypnosis to turn up the dial in their hearing, and they hear. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. And I think it's because when they were a child, they heard, but their child mind understood it was not appropriate, or the information wasn't safe information, and so it caused them to turn the dial down. So really, we're not turning it up, we're just resetting it. I think that's really interesting.
What's interesting too, Gina, is I just remembered on the last Dreaming with Gemstone Gina, you mentioned that I had something coming up that was going to be a challenge, but then clarity and perspective were coming. I went to publish my third book, and the editor returned it to me and said there's not enough pages. And I was like, what? I thought I had more pages in the book than were actually in the book. And so this was on Saturday. Sunday, I was so wiped. I was like, I can't think about this, and was so blocked about it. And then Monday, I got clarity and perspective and started writing into it. And yesterday, I went from page 42 to now I'm on page like 76. So I wrote half a book in 2 days.
That's awesome. When the information's there, it comes pouring through. The channel is open. And a story like Michael just shared, like, please share that in the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, because I tell people that, or I forget to, because every now and then somebody will post in the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. They'll say, hey, Gina, you gave me a free mini gemstone reading, and this is what unfolded. And I absolutely adore hearing those stories. And for what it's worth, I'm having a hard time getting testimonials. What's interesting, people tell me straight up, it's just too personal. It's too personal. They don't want people to know that they went through this process, or like they just, it's, I gotta respect that. So,
I
like
think
I
it's the
think it would be
stigma.
great if I had somebody, like just in the free Facebook group, and I love doing those mini gemstone readings too. And just backtracking the comments here, Felix says, my problem is my soul choice ascension.
Oh, because we were talking about the choices we make and where we're going, and
Well,
he was being funny about that.
yeah, and just
I'm
story
not
species,
sure.
story medicine.
Etheric tickling. I'm not sure what Julia's referring to with that.
Angry Haven says, my memories are scary enough. Anchor Haven says, they repeat in my mind. Yeah, so if you're having repeating dreams, repeating thoughts, you need mind reprogramming to stop that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and is Julia Anchor Haven?
yes.
The public school teacher in me, all the names are a wash. Like, so Julia, yeah, the first Wednesday of every month, I'm live on Michael's show. It's kind of a new thing. So every time we start, there's like no viewers. And then, of course, now that we're wrapping things up, people are tuning in, right? So I'm confident people will. We've been doing a lot of collective gemstone readings. And then whoever is logged on, we do that. So yeah, there's tons of stuff to talk to me about. I'm even just when it comes to my own matrix, really holding myself accountable, no matter how radical it is. I'm just accepting radically so that I can be accountable. And going back to Hummingbird and the Dark Night of the Soul, see, that's what I learned. Like Hummingbird, at least for me, Hummingbird was like, oh, this like glorious Hummingbird. And I just could not wait to get to the level of Hummingbird. And then I arrived at Hummingbird and it's like, shit, Hummingbird is the Dark Night of the Soul? Like, I just, but now it makes sense because duality, things working in opposites, because Hummingbird only drinks from the finest nectar, right? So Hummingbird has been through quite the hell, quite the journey. And nobody has said it, but I'm inferring that Hummingbird will not settle because Hummingbird knows its value. And that's where I get my little motto, know your value. And the synchronicities in my life, know your value. Even that little mantra keeps coming up here and there because that's the hummingbird energy. Know your value. There's lots of things in life that, are shitty, like, but there's some things in our lives that honestly we're lacking the courage to leave. There's nothing holding us back. I get like a lot of us are in survival mode, but you know what? Like there's a lot of things going on too where we've lowered our standards completely and we're very trapped and very stagnant and we don't have to be. We really don't. So if you're feeling trapped or stagnant, like, I'm somebody you can talk to about the ghosties, angels, ETs. The last thing you have to you don't have to worry about sounding weird around me at all. Like the weirder, the better. um, my energy medicine work that I do, it's not just intrusive entities. I meant to mention earlier that like let's say in a past life, somebody bashed you on the head with a rock and you died. Well, that rock might very well still be there. And that could be why you're having migraines. Or maybe you're having a vision problem because the rock is literally like here. And I can't explain all of this stuff in great detail. I take it with a grain of salt myself. But the understanding is that the trauma, the emotional trauma of that rock being bashed into your head caused a physical imprint that stayed there. So even though you're dead, the rock biologically is broken up and whatever, and life has gone on, it's like there's a ghost rock still in your head. And a lot of us have ancient weapons, literally sticks, stones, tree branches, logs, boulders, that have been used violently against us. And when I work, like when I call your energy field, it's so cool. Like I feel the energy come here, and it's like you lie down on my little bed that I have. And even though there's no arms or legs here, there's no head, I can sense that. And I sense things like sticks and stones, and those are called crystallized energies, or it could be called a hard energy. And it basically means that so much energy has concentrated, that it's hard now, and it's causing you physical pain and keeping you stagnant. And the only thing that's going to clear that is seeing an energy medicine practitioner. So I would literally remove it. Basically, my hands enter that very private, personal space of yours. And it's an honor for me to do that. And I recognize fully the humility and privilege to do that. Because like I said earlier, like it's so intimate. Like for me, it's like more intimate than having sex with somebody. Like this is an energy field. And I've had folks do energy medicine on me as well. And um like I remember one guy telling me like, okay, you're gonna feel a poke on your side. And then I actually felt a poke on my side, and I was wondering like, was that in my head? Or but no, I think I really felt him poking. He was making like a spiral or something. But I was able to feel it. And um, I just can't say enough about it, you know? So,
No, that's
and I've
true.
got all these like special stones and, oh, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, I can see too why the butterfly would be like the Dark Knight of the soul representation, because, or not the butterfly, the hummingbird, because the hummingbird is unlike anything else, and it's the only bird that flies in a way that no bird flies. And that's what's unique about it, is it defies all logic, it defies all constructs, and shows you, yeah, I don't have to flap my wings back and forth. Up and down works too. And it's the only bird that's a bird that flies with its wings up and down. And I think, if memory even serves right, it flies like it almost is like a helicopter, in that the wings are flapping up and down and the body stays vertical as it flies. It doesn't tilt its body forward like other birds.
Yeah, the hummingbird's really fascinating. And what else is really fascinating is the size of their beak. It's kind of long in proportion to the rest of their body, and yet they do balance. And on a literal level, which is interesting because hummingbird is the opposite of snake, and snake is the literal level, and hummingbird is the mystical level, the level of drumming and pictures, music. And hummingbirds fly backwards like dragonflies. And hummingbirds, literally, their wings are not even built to fly at all. And yet, like Michael just described, there they are buzzing around, literally sounding like little motorboats. And also, on a literal level, because I talk about my dream life a lot, so sometimes people are like, are you talking about your dreams? I'm talking about real life here, folks. Hummingbirds migrate from Canada to Brazil every year, year after year, and they're not even built to flight. And they don't think or plan where are they going to get their meals, And when they stop to eat, they only consume the finest nectar. They don't go towards flowers that are kind of dying or in this. No, it is only high quality. And so in my gemstone readings, I didn't realize it until this moment, but a lot of the content on today's show comes out through the gemstones because the archetypes are embedded. Where's my hummingbird? Now I'm like this one is my hummingbird gemstone here. So when I'm giving a gemstone reading, like all this information is stuff that I fall back on, you know?
Yeah, it's very cool, and we're almost out of time. So you mentioned your Facebook group, and where can people get your
Yeah.
books?
So my books are on Amazon. The best place to go is GinaVirginiaCasella.com. One link to rule them all. I've got free resources, lots of videos on YouTube, story species, story medicine every Wednesday. That's what I do now. So if you're an author, did I say every Wednesday? It's every
Every Monday.
Monday, but actually in 2026 it's going to change to Tuesday. But once a week, okay, once a week for the focus of this year conversation. Once a week, I'm hosting Story Species, Story Medicine, and right now there's a lot of me. I'm really lacking guest speakers, and you have to have published a story. You can be an illustrator, graphic artist as well. But the point, the make or breaker with me and Story Species, Story Medicine. So who am I, right? Like I'm just another person telling a Bigfoot story. That's the people I need on my show. Other people like me who have zero credibility, who are just everyday real people, but who actually took it to the next level to publish a book with their real name or provide illustrations for somebody to help support. That's the Story Species, Story Medicine that I'm after, because we find healing with each other. In grade 2, those of you who don't know me, so like I said, I had spiritual experiences my whole life. I continue to have them to this day, but there's one experience in particular that really like traumatized me. And I ended up in the special education classroom because that's how disconnected I was. 2 angels came out of my wall. Those were not angels. Those were probably extraterrestrials and or a form of technology. But you see, my mind's number one job was to protect me. So my mind told me that it was angels. But the community around me, it was not well received, right? So what I understand how trying it is to be trying. I understand how epigenetics matters and how you can't control people around you. And I understand the value of having a soul tribe. And again, you don't have to worry about sounding weird around me. Even if you're like, Gina, I am a vampire. Good for you. Like, I'm interested in the healing part and the energy medicine work. And when you book a service with me, you don't have to feel overwhelmed if you need this service or that service. You just book the private, and then you know that you're going to see me consistently, and I'm going to provide you with story medicine so we can hash out a presenting problem to focus on, and then I'll be providing you with appropriate energy medicine or mind reprogramming. So you don't have to worry about soul retrieval or cord cutting. And honestly, like something like soul retrieval, you're probably going to need multiple extractions and at least like 1 to 3 mind reprogramming sessions before you get to that point. Because you backtrack timelines and whatnot, and you're worth the investment, folks. You're really worth it. And I love talking about dreams, all half remembered, half misunderstood. So GinaVirginiaCasella.com. Check me out there. I would absolutely love for you guys to join my free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, and I would adore if you registered for one of my programs.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone in the chat room. And thank you to everyone who's going to watch this. And normally, this is the time where I would say good night to everybody, but this is the morning. So I
Yes.
guess, I
Folks,
guess
I
it'll
can't
be
do 9 o'clock at night.
yeah.
I'm awake at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I must have confused it with 9 a.m. when we originally scheduled.
It's all right. It's all in divine timing. And so it's perfect as it was. And we had people in the chat room. So that was,
Yeah,
really
really
cool. And
nice to have people live.
so thank you. And we hope to have you back on again. And as we mentioned a couple of times, I'll reiterate it just one more time is tune in the first Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time for 1 hour. It is strictly 1 hour of dreaming with Gemstone Gina, where she does her free mini gemstone readings for us. So tune in for that and make it a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a good
Thank
day,
you again,
everyone.
everybody. See you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.